This story is true. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to you. It's the horror story of the human being. A metaphorical story, no doubt, but true nevertheless. It starts lightly and then descends into the dark. So, let us begin. Once upon a lifetime, this planet was inhabited by the most wonderful birds you've ever seen. A whole tribe of them, all beautiful, shining bright in their souls. Some large, some small, some dark, some light. Each with their own abilities, each with their own talents and skills, each with their own bird song. I do not wish to give the impression that their life was idyllic, for there were dangers in the world they lived. There were predators, bigger birds who wished to eat them, animals who ate their eggs when they could get them, and of course those human beings who would shoot them, harm them with their inventions, glass windows to smash into, electric wires to shock them, planes, Chinese lanterns, air balloons, all for the birds to run into in flight. And then conversely, there were those humans who rescued them and helped heal their broken limbs. So, life was in balance. And whatever the challenges, the birds had the joy of flight and freedom to be who they were. They loved life with all that it presented to them. But one day, one bird, Gwyn the Finn, had an unpleasant experience. Gwyn was your typical average bird, called the Finn because A, it rhymed, and B, preferring to fly on his side, he held his one wing in an upright manner, like a shark's fin sliding through the top of the water. This little idiosyncrasy gave rise to his name, Gwyn the Finn. And one day, flying from tree to tree, he came across some little boys playing. They had a curious toy in their hands that Gwyn had not seen before. He settled on the boys' garden fence for a closer look, and one of the boys obligingly spotted him and raised his hand in the air so Gwyn could see the strange toy more fully. And then suddenly, with no warning, Gwyn the Finn saw a stone hurtling towards him, full speed, full power. As Gwyn tried to fly away, the stone hit his wing, his fin wing, full force, head on, and knocked him to the ground. The boys cheered. "Got him! Great shot! Friggin' brilliant, that catapult!" They ran to Gwyn and stood over him. But Gwyn was winded, suffering from shock, and his wing was at an odd angle, broken by the shot. One of the boys reached down to him and picked him up by the leg, immediately dislocating it. "Ugh!" said another boy. "You shouldn't touch him. You know, Casey's got that bird flu that's going around. He'll give it to you." "Ha! Patter's got the bird food. You've got the bird flu," the boys chanted and ran off. Patel looked down at Gwyn, still hanging by his dislocated leg. "Flippin' heck," he said, and with one quick movement of his arm, he threw Gwyn over the fence and into the field beyond. And without even a backward glance, he ran after the other boys. Gwyn lay in the field, with his broken wing, dislocated leg, and, having hit the ground quite hard, a very sore and bruised body. He was concussed, disorientated, and thoroughly traumatized by the whole experience. His body shook with cold and anxiety as the reality of the situation hit him. He couldn't move. He was going to die. And that was it. And the worst of it was, he was going to die alone. No family or friends, no one to speak comforting words. He was all alone, prey to some larger bird or animal or maggots. That was it. He awaited death. Ooh, you were silly, weren't you? Haven't you seen a catapult before? Gwyn heard the voice. He knew it to be female and quite young, but he didn't have the energy to even turn his head. Oh, it's no use pretending you're dead, because you're not. Well, not yet, anyway. You didn't listen to me, did you? I was telling you to fly away while you could, but you wouldn't listen. Gwyn thought he was hallucinating. He didn't care anyway. The pain was just too much. Oh, no, you don't. You don't give up now. I'm here to help you, said the voice, and you have to help me to do that. Gwyn was shivering. His breathing, it was getting more difficult, and his good leg and wing, well, they were going numb. He was done for. And then he felt the softest, gentlest stroke of a hand on his wings, and slowly, tenderly, he was cupped in a pair of small, delicate hands. There, said the voice. It's okay. I got you, and I'll never let anyone hurt you again. Gwyn opened one eye with the last of his energy to see a young girl, maybe 10 years of age, with kind brown eyes and a loving smile. It was the last thing he saw before becoming unconscious. Gwyn didn't open his eyes again until 3 days later. He opened his eye and felt pain. Pain in his leg and wing, and he ached all over. He tried to move, but only his head would turn slowly to the left. And there, beside him, was a girl who bent over him and said, "Well, you took your time." Gwyn tried to turn to her, but he felt his wing and leg were restricted. "I've bandaged them," said the young girl. "Some herbs and medicine first to help knit everything together, and so you will be able to use them again eventually." Gwyn didn't know what to say other than, "Thank you," and he fell back asleep. It took several months for Gwyn to recover, and the little girl stayed faithfully by his side, tenderly nursing his broken little body back to health. He asked her name several times, but she refused to tell him. "It's my secret," she said. "I'm just a young girl, and I don't need a name. Nobody really needs a name, especially me." And Gwyn left it at that. But as he got better, he thought about his family, how he missed them, his brothers and sisters and his dear, dear parents. Were they still alive even? He asked the little girl if he could contact them in some way. "Oh, gosh, no! What do you need them for when you have me?" The little girl saw the look on Gwyn's face. "Oh, don't get me wrong. I am thinking about them. But Gwyn, it's been months. No one has come looking for you. They think you're dead, and they've probably grieved and moved on. And anyway, to be truthful, if you had been looked after properly, they would have warned you about catapults. You're safe with me. I've looked after you, haven't I? If it wasn't for me, you'd probably be dead." Gwyn couldn't argue with that, and in many ways he enjoyed the safety of his little bird bed, the never-ending attention of the little girl. And whenever he thought of the catapult, he shuddered. He dreamt about it at night, had flashbacks during the day. No, it's true. He was lucky to be nursed by the little girl. And when he was physically better, then maybe he'd think again about his family. And Gwyn did get better. Slowly he could walk again, and then he learnt to fly with his now slightly bent wing. The exhilaration of his first flight in the little girl's house was wonderful. "I'm better. Thank you so much. I wouldn't have recovered without you." I know, said the little girl. "I have kept you safe. I've kept you so safe whilst your body healed." "Oh, let's go out. Let me just fly to the gate and back. I'm so excited at being able to fly again," said Gwyn. "Oh, no, said the little girl. "Don't be silly. Do you know how dangerous it is out there?" "But of course you do. You almost died out there. There are horrible children out there, diseases and things out there just waiting to get you, planes and cars, and do you want to die? Haven't you learnt anything? After all this long time that I've loved you and cared for you." "Oh, of course, of course, I forgot," said Gwyn. The catapult came back into his mind's eye. The world was indeed a dangerous place, and here Gwyn had someone who cared about him and would keep him safe. A year passed. Time, actually, did not go quickly. It went quite slowly, and Gwyn had not left the little girl's house. Every day she told him how dangerous the world was, and bit by bit Gwyn became more and more afraid to leave. He convinced himself that he was happy and content, that the little girl and he himself were all that he needed. But sometimes he would see other birds outside the window and envy their freedom. His bird song, well, it was no longer sweet and melodic. It was quivering and croaky, and not like his full voice at all. And if the little girl saw him looking through the window, she would immediately pull down the blinds. "Don't get ideas, Gwyn. It's dangerous. You know it's dangerous, and I am here keeping you safe. So safe. You're safe with me." And Gwyn would think of the catapult, and his heart would beat faster and faster, and he would hide in his bed, thinking of all the terrible things in the world outside, until the little girl reassured him. "No, Gwyn, you're safe, safe with me." Then, one night when the moon was bright and the little girl fast asleep, Gwyn for some reason was still wide awake, and he flew to the window just to look at the world outside. And there, bathed in moonlight, was a large white owl in a tree. And upon seeing him, the owl flew to the window and opened it a little with his claws. "Come on, time to go before the old woman wakes up." Gwyn stepped back, instantly afraid. This must be one of the dangerous things that lives outside. "Go away," he said. "There's no old woman here." "No old woman?" "I can see she's got you in her grip. Don't tell me. I know you think she's a lovely little girl." But she is," Gwyn said. And she looks after me, and she keeps me safe." Safe, eh? Have you looked at yourself? Your feathers are dull and falling out. You can only just manage to fly and walk because you don't get enough exercise or sunlight. Your beautiful voice has gone. Your routine, well, quite frankly, it's dull and boring. You don't know any more how to be with birds of your own kind. Gwyn, you are not living, you are existing. Your joy is limited. You are far from safe. Can't you see? You are dying. And this room and this little girl are the most dangerous of environments." No, Gwyn shook his head. "The little girl, she keeps me safe." "The old woman keeps you trapped," said the owl. "You can't even see her as she really is. She's devious, manipulative, insidious, and ancient. Oh, so ancient. She claims to protect, when she's denying you your freedom and potential. And do you know how many other birds she has trapped in rooms in this house?" Not true, shouted Gwyn. "She rescued me. She keeps me safe. She drains you of all life has to offer. She keeps you in her power. And you've given up your life to her. You're deceived, Gwyn, and you can't even see it." Gwyn slammed the window as hard as he could. And he went to bed. But when he glanced at the little girl, she suddenly seemed much older. Gwyn couldn't get the owl's words out of his head. Was it true? Was he concentrating on the wrong thing? He began to think of all the joys in the world that he had experienced, as well as the catapult. How he missed his brothers and sisters and his friends. He looked in the mirror. It was true. He was a ragged, dull mess. A week later, the owl called again, and he asked Gwyn 2 things. 1. Have you seen the other rooms yet, Gwyn? And has the old woman told you her name? The answer to both questions was no. And at the owl's invitation, For some reason, Gwyn hopped onto the owl's back and was flown to each and every room in the house, looking through the windows. Gwyn had seen enough after 2 rooms, but the owl insisted, and in every room Gwyn saw there was a creature of some kind, with a little girl sleeping right next to them. Oh, so many girls, so many creatures to keep safe, he said. So many victims, you mean, said the owl. So many deprived of the joys and the sadness of life. Your choice now, Gwyn. Your choice. See with new eyes. You've got a chance. Ask her her name. And he flew away. For the rest of the night, Gwyn tossed and turned. His soul was troubled. The owl was right. He wasn't living. He was just existing. The next day, Gwyn demanded the girl tell him her name. Why? Why? What difference will it make? I keep you safe. You're frail. You need me. But Gwyn stuck to his guns, and the more Gwyn demanded, the more angry the little girl grew. And the more angry she grew, the more her demeanour changed. She called him ungrateful. He would regret it, threatened to withdraw his care, and with each violent sentence, right in front of him, she grew older, her face wrinkled, her hair grey, and her back bent, until finally she shouted, "My name is Fear! Fear! And I have made you mine. I have consumed you, and now, now I own you completely." Gwyn looked. The owl had been right after all. Gwyn took a deep breath. You served me well at first, and for that I thank you. But you grew more and more controlling. You wanted more and more of me. You wouldn't let me go out. You wouldn't let me even see my family. You basically kept me a prisoner. You have robbed me of my life. You betrayed my trust. You are the most dangerous thing that I have ever come across. You are traitor. But I know who you are now, and I will recognize you anywhere. And each time I see you, this time, I will name you. I will name you loud and clear for the traitor and the robber of life that you are. And Gwyn turned away to where the old owl of his soul lay. You'll come back, begging me to have you back. You'll come back, begging me. I'm telling you now, the old woman shouted after him. But the owl and Gwyn flew away. And Gwyn felt the presence of the little girl as he flew. She was in his head, creating pictures of all the dangers in the world and how she had protected him. But Gwyn held on tight to the owl. He saw the little girl for who she was, an old, old woman, more dangerous than anything he had ever encountered before. Your choice, Gwyn, the owl said. Your choice. Do I turn back, or carry on. Fly on. Fly on, said Gwyn. I want to live. I am alive, and I want to honour the life I have been given. Fly on, owl, for today, now, in this moment, I am free. And now I am coming home. Home. Home.